And it's time to get our news on. It is Jay Cleveland Payne. This is Things You Might Have Heard for Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. As your news side piece, a tertiary news source for you. We're going to provide for you in the upcoming about 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll blabber on for other things. About 8 stories, or exactly 8 stories that we pulled from our listing of about 33 total news stories that went over live in the last 30 hours. Every 50 minutes, we post them on our feed so you can check a look and see what's going on. And these are the stories in the top half that you thought were the most conversational, ones that people like you and some Twitter algorithm bits made popular. We'll get to that in a minute. Stop by our main website, which is, of course, the Conversation This is a Conversation Project for things on the Conversation Project. Actual website name is thisisaconversationproject.com. Brought to you by More Bitter Media LLC. So let's get on this ride for this morning, starting off with our first story, which is the top story, and by leaps and bounds, the story that was the most engaging. And it was something posted around midnight, literally around midnight Central Time. So late in the feed, getting all the attention. The eyeballs going to Leo and his girlfriend, Leonardo DiCaprio, and girlfriend Camila Morrone break up after 4 years of dating. That is what you people want to talk about. And so that's what we're going to talk about off the bat. Leonardo DiCaprio with his longtime girlfriend, 4 years is a kind of long-time relationship thing, have broken up after the grand scale of dating. Leo is in his 40s. His girlfriend's in his 20s. Really nothing all that scandalous at this point in time because we know about the older guys dating younger women. That's just how Hollywood works. And now that Leo is an older statesman, he has the right to do all the I don't say Rock Hudson, but Rock Hudson doesn't really count in this case because that was a whole nother bag. Older, wiser, grayer actors taking on younger actresses, not only in their roles in the movies, because the always happens that way, but in real life, in dating relationships. This is like a Harrison Ford, Calista Flockhart type thing where there's that large gap. Actually, I think they might have a 30, 40-year gap, to be honest. That's the weird thing, man, thinking about that one. Warren Beatty, that's what I'm thinking of. Warren Beatty Madonna, which may have also been a 30-year gap as well. So this is only about a 20-year gap, so not quite as wide as other age gaps in the Hollywood Hills, but this is one where, for now, it's over. Apparently, Leonardo's trading in his younger-ish girlfriend and probably will pick up a even younger-ish girlfriend because that's what happens out there way out west. Let's go on to the next story. Mississippi governor will declare emergency as Jackson's main water facility fails. This one a bit more important, a bit more dire, actually a bit more interesting, if you will. Jackson, Mississippi, basically 2 days ago, and officially early in the day, people were told, do not drink the water. The governor says the water is bad. Do not drink, do not bathe, do not do anything. Why is this a problem? Well, the flooding in Mississippi has caused damage to the water system in Jackson, the main system for Jackson. But this is not a 100-year flood problem. This is a decades-old infrastructure problem. The mayor of Mississippi has basically talked about how bad the infrastructure is in Jackson and in surrounding areas, mostly because it's not the most populous and it's not a money-making part of town. It's not the coast. There's no casinos there. There's nothing there to bring in people. So it's essentially a more urban, as they like to call it, type of town, type of place. So because of that, because it's had lots of neglect over years in just basic manufacturing and basic, just maintenance of its infrastructure, this thing was bound to happen, and it happened now. People are getting gallons or cases of water because they can't brush their teeth, they can't drink, they can't bathe in it, and schools have been shut down because you can't run the water. It's a terrible situation. We're going to see how long it takes to get this thing back up. Most likely, pretty long time. This is not quite Detroit level water crisis, but it's pretty darn close, where it's not the fact of there's so much bad stuff in the water, but the system to pump the water, it just does not have the pressure to make it work. And so if you don't have enough water pressure, you're basically pumping, bad water out instead of pushing out good water. We're going to keep an eye on Mississippi, and we're going to, our hopes and prayers and thoughts and dreams will go out to many people in the next couple of weeks and going. But we're definitely keeping an eye on Mississippi and Jackson in particular as they deal with their struggle right now. Cameron Smith bolts for LIV Golf Series, won't defend Players Championship title. The headline reads it all. Read the details in the actual description for the actual article if you want to. But this is another person who is leaving the PGA Tour, going to LIV Golf Tour, LIV Golf Series, because it's flat out money. In fact, he's leaving for the Players Championship title because he wants the money now. He wants to get paid now, and he won't defend that championship title. He's not going to wait. He's going to go and bolt for LIV Golf. We're going to see if LIV Golf is actually going to be a rival or is going to be a bust like USFL was supposed to compete with the NFL, and that didn't quite work out so well. Lots of money behind it, and just didn't work. This one, lots of money behind it, and a lot of people willing to go play in it. Will it work? We shall see. Maybe it's time for the PGA to be dissolved and to go away, but is this what should be replacing it? We shall see. Hong Kong is trialing ground level signal lights so pedestrians can see them while browsing their smartphones. So Hong Kong is working to bathe the ground in lights, red and green, when it's time for you to walk or not walk across the sidewalk, across the street at the crosswalk, because people are walking around like this. So you will no longer have to look up from your phone to know you can cross the street. They're trying it. We're going to see how well this works. We're going to see if this becomes something that Hong Kong uses and is something that the world needs in its wake of people. This was not a problem 10 years ago. People were just not paying attention. Now they're literally trying to pay attention to something else, watching things on their phones, reading things on their phones, just mesmerized, playing games on their phone, Sudokuing, whatever, on their phones. And now, because of issues of people wandering into this traffic because they're not paying attention, Hong Kong's trying to fight that. We'll see how well that fight shall be fought. Moving on to Waymo, who opens up a driverless robotic service to downtown Phoenix to vetted passengers. Now, if you want to ride in the driverless taxis, driverless cars, you obviously can't drive them because they're robo taxis. You've got to get a waiver. You literally have to get a waiver and sign an NDA saying that if something happens, you ain't going to sue. You're not going to talk about what's going on. But if you want to deal with the driverless taxis, sign your waiver, put up your insurance, pray to your folks, kiss your mom goodbye, and make sure that you get there on time arriving. Waymo is turning itself into a pretty profitable business, as it will, slowly but surely, as driverless cars have had the issues, not so much the other driverless cars, but the people still driving cars, which are the real issue out there. We shall see if this works as well. I'm not sure if this is basically a more of a sign of the times. We already have chess-playing robots who are trying to kill people, and Skynet is technically 25 years old. Although Google's only about 20. So we'll see how all this stuff plays out going forward. Trump repeatedly boasted about having illicit details on Macron's love life, report says. And by the way, Truth Social Android app not approved on Google Play Store. Two things that kind of go together. We don't have the article or any articles right now on what was found. They have some pictures of just all the stuff that was found at Mar-a-Lago that Trump had, just literally like in closets, in his desk, on the coffee tables, things like that. That came in overnight at around midnight when the report was released. And so we had already posted for the night past that point, so we don't have anything there. Something's coming up in about an hour or so that goes and gives more detail on that one. However, Trump bragged about having all sorts of details on things just around the house, including illicit details on Macron's love life, which he could possibly have in some of the unfortunately we have on some of our friends and allies, as well as some of our not so friendly adversaries out there. We do keep tabs on our friends and allies. Yes, there are records on people that you love. You'll see things about the Dolans, Mickey Dolans and the monkeys. The FBI kept tabs on the monkeys. It happened. But Trump basically boasted about knowing a bunch of stuff about Macron because he does that all the time. Boasts about a lot of things. In the meantime, he can't boast about the profitability of Truth Social because it's not, and the professionalism because it isn't. Truth Social basically bumped from the Google Play Store in the past couple of days because it's an unmoderated mess of garbage. I said that, but Google also sort of said that by claiming the unmoderation version parts of it, and the fact that there's just all sorts of unvetted information and just mean, nasty things going out there in the Truth Social because nobody's keeping an eye on the store. Twitter may have some issues with this, and Twitter has been doing it for a while, and Twitter admits, there's all sorts of things out there. Elon Musk may not like the bots out there repeating things going back and forth, but Truth Social has people just literally just saying whatever the hell they want to without any consequence, literally. And Google Play's like, yeah, we can't play that. See what I did there? Pat McAfee Show SiriusXM parting ways. Pat McAfee Show spending the last 2 years on SiriusXM as his actual radio partner. It's also broadcast live on streaming, I think on YouTube, but or somewhere. And most of the times that I see it, it's clips from the live stuff that people have chopped up and put online. The Pat McAfee Show as a radio thing will be gone off of SiriusXM. In fact, there was literally no negotiations back and forth. Now, the show was able to gather some pretty big sponsors based on the big personality of the former kicker and now WWE color analyst. But the show itself, the radio show, needs a new home. If you're a fan of the Pat McAfee Show, which did air on some select stations around the nation, you have to basically check your website and local list and see if you had it. If you're a fan of Pat McAfee, you know what you're getting into and you know what you're losing going forward. If you're not, you may not know, but one of the weirdest things about sports shows and talk shows is the venues that they're on are diminishing. One reason why I'm not in radio, talent may be part of it, was you have to basically beat out talent for opportunities. If there's less spots to play for, there's less people that can get a chance to play. If 20 people show up for a team that has only 15 slots, 5 people aren't making that team. Now, if you end up with less teams in the league and they still have 15 slots, but you eliminate a full team of 15 folks that used to have a place to play, and now they've got to make some other teams, you have less people playing the game. That's what's happening with this one. In a world where it's basically, if you want to play, you want to pay, you can play, Pat McAfee Show would be out there more. The issue is there literally are less venues to do this thing. As you can tell, less people are listening to long form radio and terrestrial radio things at all. The podcast version, the backup versions, that may still be out there. That's pretty keen. But most of the juice and bang for the buck comes from the live versions, even if you like the podcasts. So this is something that saddens me, although Pat McAfee can take pretty good care of himself. So I'm just sad about this what it says for the media industry, radio itself specifically, and as an investor in SiriusXM, what they're going to do going forward for their Mad Dog Sports Radio, which I don't really listen to Mad Dog Sports Radio, to be honest. Last Soviet leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, who ended the Cold War, dies at age 91. Also starring in pizza commercials. Remember that happening. Now, Gorbachev is basically famous for running the Soviet Union, but having a miscalculation that essentially ended the Soviet Union part. Of course, Russia exists, the union that held together all the couples of different nations into the large sort of conglomeration, Warsaw Pact, if you will, type of a grouping that grouped up to connect with the as a counter to the United States and its Westernism. Did not exist, did not happen because Ronald Reagan said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down his wall. And he was kind of like, yes, sir. Well, it wouldn't quite work down that way. But Gorbachev was already in the middle of losing the coalitions in power. And the underpinnings of a person like Putin, who was still too young to really take over that part. There was, of course, Boris Yeltsin for a time as the prime minister and president. But set aside emotions for things to be right now. The old Soviet republic could not live the way it did for as long as it did at this time. It would not have worked. And it just fell apart. Gorbachev, sort of famous in a second life for trying to be a brokerage of peace and harmony between the Russians and the West. But of course, at this point, it's over. It's done. We lay our flowers to rest for Mikhail Gorbachev, who made it to the pretty good age of 91. Not a bad run for Gorbachev, even if, at least from our perspective, the greatest thing he is known for is losing, literally a bad calculation, and losing the Soviet Union, which good for us. Well, what we got is kind of wacky, but so far, it is what it is. Let's look at our teaser story for the day. And this is one that's been teased in many places. In fact, we probably posted this early. We did post this a couple times. We posted very early in the talk back and forth for what to do about Jeff Garlin and his character on the Goldbergs. They're going to kill him. because that's what you do. You killed Roseanne when she got wacky. You killed Valerie Harper when she got wacky. Yeah, they killed Valerie. Huh. So they're going to kill Jeff Garland's character on the Goldbergs because the claims of inappropriate conduct. They're going to get rid of him on the show. They're going to fire him from what's going on. And so to explain his disappearance from the show and to keep the show going, they're killing his character. We can talk about that more further, which is not grammatically correct, but I just said it. If you decide this is a story that's worth talking about, vote it up in your engagement. Like it, love it, hate it, share it. The more engagement this story gets, better chance we have of talking about it tomorrow as one of our top tier stories going forward. It's that simple. Also very simple for you is glasses, eyewear, your spectacles, if you will. What's simple about that? If you go to thisistheconversationproject.com/Zenny, you can simply get a great pair of glasses for a great price. Simple. They're beautiful glasses. Simple. They have all the technology such as blue blocking and transitions type lenses and polarized sunglasses, bifocals, trifocals. Brilliant. Designer glasses. Brilliant. Glasses for women, glasses for men, glasses for kids. Brilliant. Sports goggles, safety goggles. Brilliant. Simple. Just like that. Shop by thisistheconversationproject.com/Zenny. Thisistheconversationproject.com/Zenny for affordable lenses that, and you can even send back if you don't like them. Just because they're on the cheaper end, not cheap, cheaper end, doesn't mean they're not going to take them back if you're not satisfied, because that's what they do. I've been a satisfied customer for years, and my family is growing into it too as they realize they don't need the super expensive glasses. They can simply send their info into Zenny and bam, beautiful glasses, multiple pairs of glasses. I've got like 3 or 4 of these things all over the place. I lose them all the time, and they should be on my face, which is amazing how I lose them when they should be on my face. Go get your glasses from Zenny today. Now, we do get a slight little bit of change back, a little cheddar, because this is an affiliate link, but you're going to love them, and it costs you nothing extra. And it's it costs you so little, you're not going to notice it at all. So check it out. It's Zenny Optical. Right now, we want to check out our websites of note, starting off with our main website, which is thisistheconversationproject.com, our home for the Conversation Project, brought to you by More Better Media, LLC. See what we have behind the scenes and sometimes in front of the scenes when we get to posting things that are normally, and see how you can help us keep things going on here at the Conversation Project by visiting our partnerships page and seeing some other sponsors and seeing who you might want to help you. That may also help us put a little bit of cheddar coming back. We also need, if you don't want to support us on the literally on some financial aid, and we need you to just be a part of the show and engage. Start with the feeds. Facebook.com/thisistheconversationproject and Twitter.com/th_conversation is the place where you can find our feeds. We post news stories about every 50 minutes, new news headlines, some updates if things get updated. And over the weekend, you usually may see some updates to things that are big on the Friday and turn into changes come Saturday, Sunday. But as you engage in those stories, we look at them, and then Tuesday through Friday, we provide for you in our news coverage stories from top 15 out of 30 to 35 stories posted in that window of 30 hours or so. On the weekend, we have 3 days plus 5 hours with the Monday. So we give you stories from the top 30 of 90 or so stories, and we give you more stories, longer thing, bigger fanfare, yada, yada, yada. But we'll give you the top stories that are vetted by you and sometimes Twitter bots, because they're out there. And you tell us what stories are good. We tell you what stories should be good to talk about in your coffee water cooler chats. Also, find us on TikTok at The Conversation Project. Find us on YouTube at thisistheconversationproject.com/YouTube, which is a link to our YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe and hit notifications so that 5:50 every weekday morning, you get the notification from your phone telling you that it's time for things you might have heard. Also, if you like the information, like the words coming out of my mouth, but don't like watching my mouth and the words come out of them, you can also get this in a podcast form. Go to thisistheconversationproject.com/podcast. Thisistheconversationproject.com/podcast and subscribe to the podcast there. So it's in your podcatcher, and then it will go live about 5-10 minutes after the broadcast of the video. We basically take this audio from this video, pop it in there. You'll see it pop in your feed for about 10 minutes after it's done. It's technology. It takes a little bit of time. Now, some today things to deal with. Today, of course, is August 31st. Birthdays for the day. Richard Gere, Doing it all, doing it well, doing it damn fine looking. 73 years old on the day. Much love to 52-year-old Deborah or Debbie Gibson, based on your time frame of reference. Debbie Gibson, of course, what she was known at when she was a teen heartthrob and teen singer, now going to as Deborah because she's 50. You could be a Debbie when you're 50. What's going on? 52 years old in the day, and almost there. Chris Tucker, 51 years old today, famous for being Smokey in Friday, famous for Rush Hour, famous for being just a funny comedian, famous for being kind of a well-thought guy. Even though he talks like this and rails and screams, he's really a well-thought guy and great comedian, has lots of thought-provoking things in his work. We're going to celebrate Eat Outside today because that was, lesser of evils. Eat outside today. Take a little time, and when it's some places we're still doing record heat, so eating outside might kind of suck. But today, August 31st, is National Eat Outside Day. If you can go outside and get some shade, grab a bite outside and enjoy it. Or not. This is one that I'm not necessarily going to push that hard, but like I said, there weren't very good ones to pick from today. So we're providing you with Eat Outside today. Make that your lunch, your bar bet, but go to the bar outside, I guess. I don't know. Okay. A third of pet parents have more photos of their furry friends on their phones than their kids or partners. 35% to be exact, survey. Survey over 2,000 dog and cat owners found that they take over 400 pictures of their pets every year. The survey shed light on how much people love their pets, with nearly a third of the pet owners claiming that they treat their pets like royalty. A quarter of respondents allow their pets to smooch them on the mouth. 1 in 6 have even gotten a tattoo of a furry friend. Now, I had a rough time picking whether I was doing the pet thing or there was a study out on plastic surgery, because plastic surgery, elective plastic surgery, is on the rise. Although most of it is things like Botox and lip injections, things like that. We're not talking, the exciting stuff like boob jobs and Brazilian butt lifts, although they're there. But plastic surgery is up on the rise, and I chose the pet stuff because. Not because we're necessarily family friendly, but this was the easier one to kind of get through, to be honest. So if you're a pet lover and a pet parent, which I'd say pets aren't kids, so you can't really be a pet parent, this shows that pet parents love their dogs and cats and furry and sometimes scaly things, sometimes more than their kids, which if you see some pet parents, you can see that. And if you see some of their kids, you may actually understand why, because it is. This has been Wednesday, August 31st edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am still Jay Cleveland Payne. I've not changed my name yet and don't plan on it. Although, who knows what may happen down the line. Thank you for joining us for today's edition of the show. If you're liking the audio version of it on the podcast, same thing applies. We want you to comment. We want you to be a part of the show. We want you to be engaged with what's going on so you can help us pick the stories. But also drop some comments in however app or whatever platform you're watching or listening to this for, so we know what's out there. Let us know what you're going to do, what you're doing. Send us email, send us messages so we know what to work on, what to fix, what to not fix, if you will. We also want to remind you to stay hydrated, which you can't see if you're watching the podcast, but I'm holding up my mug, so it's be hydrated. That's a visual there. Stay limber and stay on task. No visuals for those. Just kind of mind's eye those. But the point of those words, those statements, those sentences, those hashtags I use on a lot of my things is the fact that we need you here to do the great grand things you're meant to do for us. Even if I can't get those words out of my mouth, you have great things to do. Thank you so much for Christina with a K for checking in on us this morning. And we will talk to you guys for day 4 of the week. Lord willing, and creek don't rise, not being facetious because there are issues with flooding going on right now. And we'll see about what happens for stories from today that you deem conversational for tomorrow. Trust me, it all works out in the wash. Thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow.